want to welcome you all to today's webinar, The Power of Digital Manufacturing for Healthcare Innovation, hosted by Carbon. My name is Andy Savarese, and I'm the Director of Sales for our Life Science Group here at Carbon, and I appreciate each of you spending some time to talk about what we're doing here at Carbon, in particular around healthcare. Before I joined Carbon 2 years ago, I spent 12 and a half years in surgical robotics on soft tissue, spine, and brain. And I saw firsthand what many of you who have joined us today go through every day to bring new products to market, to innovate in a timeline that is set forth by the company, to do so in a manner that allows you to bring devices to the market that can change patients' lives, and all of the complexities that go into that process. Those are the complexities that we're going to talk about today. Those are the different opportunities that companies come to us for every single day to work with us on and help solving those problems. And with that, I want to start with a short video.
It's about people.
An evolution of creative freedom.
Things so complex, it feels like it should be impossible in the moment.
This is the next natural step.
Beta,
Beta.
we're never complete.
Wildly kind of complex.
Well, what's the idea?
Evolving the human athlete.
Convergence of
Design and manufacturing.
hardware engineering, software
A workflow where things are seamless.
programmable liquid
It just
resins.
rises up.
It's a lattice, it's a matrix. Light and oxygen and bath of magic material.
Remove the bounds of the
The
mold.
future is now.
There's no beginning or end.
You're limitless.
So some of you are probably wondering, why are we watching a video around athletic shoes when we're talking about healthcare innovation? And really what it comes down to is two things. Adidas approached us a number of years ago, and they had two problems they were trying to overcome. First and foremost, they were trying to figure out a way to make a design that had kind of sat in the background for a number of years. A design that they knew was going to improve the usability and the user interaction with the products that they make. The second problem was, if we could make it, now we needed to go ahead and make it at scale and do so in a way that they could go to full production for this design concept that they had kind of mulled around. While you can't see it, on my feed is the realization of both of those goals. And that is what we are at as a company at our heart, is finding different ways to take a problem and overcome those. It's why Joe DeSimone, our founder and CEO, started the company a number of years ago, because he looked at, what does traditional manufacturing provide companies? What does 3D printing provide companies? And can we come up with a piece of technology, a suite of materials, and powerful software that allows us to eclipse all of the limitations associated with traditional manufacturing around design freedoms and lead times and a digital process, but also overcome the different limitations that are associated with 3D printing around the speed, material properties, and material choices into one easy-to-use piece of technology that opens up different opportunities for companies. If you zoom in specifically on our technology, we have a very simplistic build mechanism. Single lowering arm dropping down into a pool of liquid resin. We are then allowing light and oxygen to come up through that pool. What I want you to think of in terms of the light is it's acting like a chisel. Light is there to set the shape of whatever geometry you have put into our user interface. The key, though, is the oxygen. The oxygen prevents polymerization right at the level of the window. We never have the parts sticking to the window during the build. And so with that, we can build with mechanical properties that are completely isotropic in the X, Y, and Z direction. We can build with surface finish that's often seen with injection molding. And we can build with a speed that previously was unforeseen in traditional SLA 3D printing. If we zoom in on that dead zone in this video, you can see a better appreciation of how that process is working. You have a constant flow of resin that's coming underneath the building part that's rising up in the middle. And a continuous build allows for all of those different features that I talked about before. So if you were to break open any one of the parts, you would see a completely uniform substrate, something that is seen with traditional manufacturing and injection molding versus what is conventionally seen with a layered approach to 3D printing, where you have the potential for different failure points at each layer under a certain stress. With that uniformity of the parts in any of the resins and any of the geometries that come off our printer, we have the flexibility to now play with different orientation to either maximize the number of parts per build in a prototyping fashion or to increase the number of parts per build in a production setting, thereby drawing down the cost associated with that particular application. So why digital and why now? Why is it ready? Why are we moving away from the potential of 3D printing or additive manufacturing to be just a prototyping modality and now move into full-scale manufacture? To take a step back, really have to look at a simple, old technology and the printing press. What the printing press gave you was a single unit to be able to share the written word. But the digital disruption that occurred when that went to a digital process, the sharing of ideas and how quickly the digital word could spread, not just in a community, but around a country or around the world, really opened up to a old new path of how ideas were shared and fostered between individuals, even if they weren't in the same room. That same opportunity is actually happening now with digital manufacturing. We have the ability to take innovation and be incredibly agile to fundamentally change the way that people collaborate, to offer the opportunity for companies to take an innovation timeline that might have been 12 to 18 months and shorten that down to possibly 1 month or 1 week or even 48 hours, as a company that I was working with last week was able to do. What that allows for different companies of different sizes, if you're a startup, can you potentially take that innovation timeline and get your product to market faster? Or if you're a large player in the market, can you gain that first mover advantage on a brand new device that's coming to market before another Me Too product comes out? What could innovation now look like in a purely digital sense if we can innovate at the speed of thought, as many of our partners are doing, not only in medical device, but across different segments? Second piece is when we launched initially and came out of stealth with our founder and CEO, Joe DeSimone, during his TED Talk, one of the biggest things that was talked about was speed. The speed with which the printing process that I talked about a few minutes ago is able to execute different parts at 25 to 100 times faster. As our install base continues to grow, what really is a leading factor for many of our customers and many of our partners is not only the speed, but the end use materials and the different capabilities that the printer offers them to make products that are ready for the real world to use in a variety of different resins with different mechanical properties that previously they only knew through injection molding or traditional manufacturing. Part of what you see in front of you is the realization of that goal, the realization that we can create different materials and have them be a close analog to what many of you are used to in injection molding. Each of these in the medical space has been tested for ISO 10993-5 and -10 and passed cytotox irritation and sensitization for both long-term dermal contact and short-term mucosal contact, which gives our customers that base biocompatibility to feel comfortable that while the printer might initially be a design tool and a discovery tool for new designs and new opportunities, it gives them the flexibility and the agility to move to production with the exact same piece of equipment in the materials that you see in front of you. In addition to that, we've actually done sterilization testing on all of these materials to give the customers, again, another sense of confidence that if I am going to make an end-use part and an end-use product that can be rolled out to the community, that I have a way to go about sterilizing it that's in line with what you're commonly used to in healthcare and healthcare innovation. And finally, what's unique about our hardware is the cloud connectivity piece. That connected hardware allows for the machines to be adaptable. Just like a doctor monitoring your health but not seeing where you are or what you're saying, we're constantly monitoring the health of all of the hardware that is out there at our partners around the world, making sure that we can have predictive service to achieve best-in-class machine uptime as we come out with new software, new resins, and new features to again further the opportunity for you to design at the speed of thought. All of that update can be sent over the air to any site in the world. What we can't see, what still is protected by you and sits behind your firewall, is your designs. That's your proprietary information. That continues to sit there. But what we do enable is we enable the hardware, as you see from this quote, to be more powerful each day you have it than the first day that you put it in, to allow it to adapt and be agile as you are continuing to push the bounds and limits of innovation within healthcare, so you have a machine that's adapting with you. If we drill down specifically as to why do most healthcare companies come to us, what are they looking for? It really comes down to three main components. The first one, similar to the Additive application that we saw from the video, is the unconstrained design freedom. Maybe there's a design that you've had on the back burner for a number of years, never brought it out because there was no way to make it. Now is the time to dust that off. Now is the opportunity with the hardware and the ability for the parts that come off that to be end use with the number of resins that we offer to potentially have a brand new treatment paradigm or a brand new device that can be rolled out to the market. Concepts and projects don't have to be abandoned because of the flexibility and freedom that's offered with the technology. And we have a number of different opportunities that our partners are pursuing, both on their own as along with us, to be able to achieve different treatment paradigms or opportunities for the patients that they serve. One of those in particular is the part that you see in front of you. This is a partnership right now that we're working on with a company that wants to improve the way that hospital beds in particular are made. Very simple transfer of information as to what they were looking for, but the end use product that you see in front of you and the opportunity for the patient allows for the opportunity to potentially cut down on decubitus ulcers, allows for us to potentially improve the skin degradation associated with these patients that are bedridden, and maybe even opens up other treatment paradigms where we're injecting humidified or medicated air through this open cell lattice to allow for that patient to have a better quality of life while they're in the hospital. The second main component that we see a lot of companies come to us for is around manufacturing economics. Let's say you have an application in mind. You're a startup company, you don't know how many units you're eventually going to need. You'd love to see it be in the millions, of course, but potentially the projections are in the tens of thousands. What is the cost associated with the design iterations and the cost of tooling to make those products? And what is the time associated to get that product made to bring it to market? If you have the opportunity, as you see with the part on the right, it's a part from Becton Dickinson, to iterate quickly, to move to market with an end-use product direct off the printer, not only can you condense the timelines to be profit-generating, but you might offer up a different opportunity for where that product can go and the number of iterations for version 2, version 3, however many it's going to be for the future of that product. Potentially, we could get to the point where we are moving towards patient-matched items, where we can look at service or replacement parts, warranty parts that the old way of dusting off the old mold, bringing them back into production, and then putting that mold back into a manufacturing plant doesn't have to happen anymore. Where we can be more agile as we service and warranty different equipment as they're going to be out in the field for 10, 15, or even 20 plus years. Let's take these two devices for example. The device on the left's surgical instrumentation handle for laparoscopic surgery, or even the pill dispenser on the right. Chances are both of these devices have anywhere from 15 to 20 different parts. Of that, probably 5 to 8 of the internal components are going to change that make it the 2019 version versus the 2020 version. Some of our partners are moving towards additive for the parts that are going to change from one iteration to the next, allowing them to be more agile in terms of the rollout of the next iteration, and knowing that the materials and the part mechanical properties are going to be just like the injection molded parts that they're mating with, gives them the agility and the flexibility to take that next iteration to market a lot faster than waiting for the next mold to be made for those 5 or 6 parts. Continue to injection mold the parts that are going to be consistent, the ones that are going to last for 10, 15, maybe 20 years. You're going to achieve greater cost efficiencies by doing that, but you're going to allow yourself design flexibility and revenue flexibility by taking the parts that do change and doing those with additive. And then finally, another component that we see a lot more of as additive is starting to take hold around a variety of different industries is the design for additive. Take the part on the right-hand side for a second. 3 injection molded parts, 2 O-rings, 8 screws. The soft tooling for this device, and all it is a strain release for an electrical connector, is $9,000 just to get it through the prototyping stage. The hard tooling for that probably be north of $100,000. By some simple design modifications to the internal flow channels to make them curve, make that part completely self-supporting, we are able to reduce the points of failure. We're able to reduce the assembly time and the costs associated with it. The logistical cost savings for this particular customer of not having to source the screws from one location, the injection molded parts from a second location, the O-rings from a third, and assemble it in a fourth, made the move over to additive far more cost effective, and they weren't looking to 3D print or use additive for the entire device, but just the components of the device that made the most economical sense. Another example of that is the work that we did with Vitamix. For a simple design on a device that was meant to clean the blenders in each of the Starbucks that some of you probably visited this morning. 6 different injection molded parts. We were able, through finite element analysis, to simplify that design, allowed us to create one monolithic part, allowed us to reduce the mass associated with that, and improve the overall performance of this particular application for the different customers that it serves. The number of projects that we are working on right now that have a similar suit, where customers will come to us and say, I know this is over-designed, but it's done that way on purpose because that's how we're going to manufacture it. And then we go through the path of what could we do through additive to simplify it, to reduce the number of parts maybe from 10 to 5, or maybe from 5 to 1, allows for different creativity and different flexibility for the customers as they move through the innovation cycle and eventually get to market. All of this is accomplished on the piece of hardware that you see in front of you. This is our M2 printer. Has a build volume of 189 millimeters by 118 by 326, pixel size of 75 microns. As I mentioned earlier, all of it is covered under over-the-air software updates with predictive service and support, and a number of different sensors that we are constantly monitoring for the health of the printer over the entire life that you're using it. The second piece is our parts washer. Serves as the opportunity to further automate your entire production line, to give you an extension of the digital thread from the STL file through the printing process, the print all the way through the post-processing, so that you have a repeatable, effective washing for any part that you're going to make, and a full digital record to be submitted to whatever governing body is necessary. So what I hope that we kind of covered today is the opportunity to discuss competitive advantages. As you saw, this was not a talk that was designed to say, go make this application, it's perfect, and you can go make $1 billion for your respective companies. What I hope that we achieved was the opportunity to think of a different way of innovation, a different way of production, and to maybe get the opportunity to work with you all further to take that competitive advantage to the market. I welcome the opportunity to speak with each of you. My contact information is on the screen that you see in front of you, and I thank each of you for attending today's talk.